Hey everyone, welcome to Small Business Strong. I'm your host, John Lane, and today we're going to be talking about the things that you need to do to prepare for summer. If you do these 5 things, you will better prepare your home for what Texas heat has to throw at it. The first one is probably pretty obvious, but it's your AC system. So, as of recording this, this is May 1st, and any HVAC company here in about 2 or 3 months is going to be absolutely swamped. So do yourself a favor. And if you do not like to mess with HVAC stuff, call a company, have them out. A lot of the time they'll charge between $100 and a $200 charge to do a tune-up. It includes various things, but a lot of the time it'll include checking your system, capacitors, checking for leaks, filters, the condenser, your coils, and generally it's between $100 and $200. If you are a DIYer like myself, something you're going to want to do is check your filters and most likely replace them. I typically replace my filters quarterly. If you have a lot of dogs or you have a lot of foot traffic, you're going to want to replace them once every 30 to 60 days. The next thing you're going to want to do if you're a DIYer is clear any debris away from your condenser. That's your outdoor unit. You're also going to want to hose down your condenser if it's dusty. Something you can also do if your condenser is really dirty is you can take the cover off and then you can spray a solution on it. You can get that solution at Home Depot and then you get your water hose and basically clean the unit. And there's tons of resources on YouTube on how to do that. Okay, so we covered HVAC systems. Now let's move into insulation and ventilation. Most people might not know, but your attic actually gets 150 degrees plus in the summer. I know that because I used to install radiant barrier and insulation. And when you go up there to do a visual inspection, you want to make sure your insulation is between 13 and 15 inches deep. If you can see your floor joists, you need more insulation. Something else you need to check for when you go and do an attic inspection is the soffit vents. So every house should have vents around the soffits. So just a quick recap, fascia and soffits are the two exterior parts, kind of where your roof comes down. So the fascia faces you and the soffit is underneath. That's a good way to remember it. So the soffit vents, they always go all around your house. You need to make sure that when you go up and do an attic inspection that those are cleared from any insulation. The next thing you need to check for is your doors, windows, and weather stripping. The most common 2 calls I get about weather stripping is, hey, John, I can see light through my door or I feel a draft through my door. Typically on newer homes, we're able to fix any drafts or gaps with weather stripping, but on older homes, it's kind of hit and miss. Sometimes with foundation shifting or with cracks, it's really challenging to fix everything with weather stripping. Sometimes there's another underlying issue, but also if you're a DIYer, this is something that you can totally do, just buying weather stripping at Home Depot or Lowe's and installing it yourself. Another thing in this category that's huge is caulking. Walk the exterior and interior of your house and make sure that there's no gaps. If there are, caulk and then probably paint over those gaps. Here's a little tip for caulking. If you are caulking a painted surface and you want to paint it after, you're going to want to use a latex-based acrylic caulking. If you want it clear, you're going to use 100% silicone. Now, one thing to remember with silicone is you cannot paint over it. The last thing in the window, door, and weather stripping section is if you have west-facing windows, consider a window film. It's going to save you a lot of energy and it's going to really help to block the sun from coming in. Number 4 on the list is foundation. Now, here in Texas, we have a lot of clay soil and we have tons of foundation movement. This is completely normal in Texas. Pretty much every house I go into has cracks on the drywall. If you do have slab foundation, make sure that you're running soaker hoses around your house, about 12 to 18 inches off your house. You do not want to put your soaker hoses right on the foundation, but about 12 to 18 inches off, and run those once a day in the summer. What this does for your foundation with the clay soil is it slows the shrinking and expanding cycle of the soil. The last thing I want to talk about is if you have a sprinkler system. Now, you're going to need 2 people for this. and preferably both of you to have your cell phone on you. So the first person needs to be at your sprinkler control panel and the other person needs to be walking the yard. Go through each station, you're going to run the station, and the other person is going to be looking for broken heads, leaks. You're going to look for sprinklers that are not spraying right. After you do this, check all your hose spigots. A lot of the time here in spring, you probably will have already ran your hose from the winter, but if not, pop off those old covers from the winter and run your faucets. Sometimes you'll have a crack or gaskets go bad. Hook up your hose and test it out. That's everything for today. My challenge for you is to find the one thing out of these 5 things that scares you the most and do it this weekend. Another thing I'd challenge you to do is if you have an elderly neighbor, take this list over there and help them do these things. I post these so that they can help you manage your house better. And I'd love to see you help your neighbor to manage their house better as well. Thank you so much for tuning in to Small Business Strong. And until next time.